Hello, everybody. Welcome to What to Watch Weekends. My name is Nathan, the host of What to Watch Weekends, and I've just avoided saying 88.1 The Burg, your movie central, at the very beginning of the show. We're breaking the mold tonight because tonight is a very, very special episode, and for a very, very special episode, I have a very special guest with me. I have somebody else in the studio if he'd like to introduce himself.
Yo, what's up, guys? I'm Walter.
You're Walter.
The reappearing guest co-host.
Yeah, I'd call it that. Or we could say that you're the official co-host. Honestly, you know why we're saying that you're the official co-host, Walter? I figured might as well give you that title now rather than later. Because there's not going to be a later. Rather unfortunately. When I say tonight is a very special episode of What to Watch Weekends, I mean it's a very special one. Because it is the last episode of What to Watch Weekends here on 88.1 The Burg. It's at the end of, I was about to say winter, but no, end of fall. Can you imagine if I ran this into winter 26? No, it is the end of fall 2025. Finals are next week. And I've been running this show for, I'd say, about 2 years at this point, in comparison to Wednesday's 3-year running. And it's the finale. We're going to be done after this. You won't hear me on Saturdays anymore. You won't hear Walter on Saturdays anymore. No. This is the end.
This is it.
This is the finale. And you know what they say, Walter? Go out with a bang rather than a whisper. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing. We have a lot of fun things planned for tonight, least of which is going to be interviewing you and talking to you more directly as a person and as the now official co-host of Wet Weekends.
Yes.
But
oh boy,
yes. Is right. But before we get to any of that, we have something very special lined up to go before that. I asked Walter, as a part of that sort of interview, to give me some movie recommendations.
Yes.
Because, being my co-host, you tend to give me a lot of movie suggestions.
Yeah.
Which I'm completely fine with. I just can't always talk about them, or I sometimes have my own plans. But I figured tonight I would fully bend to your recommendations. I'd give in to the temptation. I'd bow to your constant demand. No, I would just allow you to pick the movies that we talk about tonight.
Yeah.
And so we're doing a unofficial Walter trilogy tonight. 3 movies that I asked him to send recommendations for, 3 movies that Walter really likes that I could watch before the show tonight. And so we did exactly that. The 3 movies that you recommended. Actually, do you want to talk about the 3?
I'll pick them.
Yeah,
I'll pick them.
You've already picked them.
Yeah.
You've already picked them. So you'll say what they are.
I'll say what they are. But first, I'd like to say, in a weird way, this is kind of difficult for me because I like to say, oh, I don't watch movies.
Right.
And so I find it funny how I could be critical about movies. But you messaged me earlier this week and you're like, hey, can you just give me a bunch of movie recommendations for like things you like? And I'm like, okay. So I rattled off like 30 movies.
Nearly 30, like a lot.
And then you're like, whoa, that's a lot. Can you just like pick like 3? And I'm like, sure. So I picked 3 movies. I wouldn't necessarily call them my favorites, but they're movies that are important to me and special to me.
Right.
Mean things to me. Or they're just
Oh, no, sorry. Finish.
Or they're just things that I think are funny and reference all the time.
Right. And that brings up another point, which is that these 3 are specifically ones that you have brought up to me multiple times.
Yeah.
After shows or when we're talking about other movies, you often reference these 3 in particular, like all the time. So I'm not surprised that we went with these 3, and I think they're a really good pick for the ending thing. So just wanted to throw that out there. I didn't mean to cut you off, but these are 3. I was like not surprised to see these 3 be the ones you picked. I'll put it that way.
Yes.
So why don't you list off the 3 that we're talking about?
Yes. So the 3 movies we have are Monty Python's Life of Brian. Clerks. And Into the Wild.
Yes. And which one of those 3 do you want to start off with first? Because I've got notes on all 3.
Yes.
We can just jump to which one.
Okay. Well, being Life of Brian is one that I've watched most recently. Let's do that one.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll jump into Monty Python's Life of Brian first. I see what you're saying.
Yep.
That's a fair pick. All right, let's scroll down to make sure I actually have it. Okay. Ironically, it is the third movie I have in the notes, the last one. So, but it's not the last one I watched. It was the second one I watched in this lineup. Point is, we're going to jump into Monty Python's Life of Brian from 1979, which is available to watch on Amazon Prime and Tubi. Basic plot summary of Life of Brian is we follow a man named Brian, a man who was born down the street from Jesus Christ back in the day, and he joins the People's Front of Judea to fight against the Romans. That's the basic plot summary of it. I should mention it is Monty Python's Life of Brian, so this is the same people who did Holy Grail, for people who are familiar with that. So you can imagine that a lot of chaos ensues not related to that basic plot summary, but we'll save that for later. Let's conquer the first things first. Walter.
Yes.
Can you tell me? Okay. We're laughing because it's
we're laughing. It's a funny movie.
It's a funny movie. So how about you give me, okay, I know it's so hard.
Yes.
Limit it to like 2 or 3 sentences.
Okay.
What you love about this movie, if you had to sum it up.
I just like how just insane this movie is. I know people talk about Monty Python and the Holy Grail all the time.
Right.
And I think in a way that movie's a little too over talked about.
Yes.
But still a great movie.
Sure.
But why do I like this movie? I don't know. It's just really funny.
Right. I mean,
and I don't know. There's a lot of good, memorable moments that I just reference all the time.
Right. I mean, you've always referenced the, yes, we are all individuals.
We're all individuals.
Okay. This brings up an important point. Something that I noticed while watching Life of Brian. I agree with you that after seeing this, Holy Grail is overrated.
Yeah.
Because this is so much funnier.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I was watching it and I was laughing so much more at Life of Brian than I was at Holy Grail. For those of you who aren't familiar with Life of Brian at all, I know I give a basic plot summary, but to kind of extrapolate on it a little bit, essentially what happens is it turns into Monty Python's... So Holy Grail is kind of the parody of the Dark Ages, medieval times. This is a parody of specifically Christianity, Judaism, old-timey Jesus stuff.
Yeah.
That's a way to describe it. Jesus stuff. But it's the most unspecific way I can really talk about this. Life of Brian follows a guy named Brian who just so happens to be in Rome around the time of Jesus. And at a certain point, while it is halfway through the movie, he gets confused for a messianic figure. And people start following him around, and a lot of jokes come from that. It's also making fun of Roman occupation of the world and how the Caesar was just an idiot. And it's kind of loosely structured, so it's hard for me to give even more plot details than that, because let's be honest here, it's more of a long, continuous comedy sketch than it is a plot-heavy movie.
Yes.
Would you say that's fair?
Yeah.
That's completely fair. It's a very funny comedy sketch, but as a plot, it's so hard to like fully wrap your head around it without having seen it. I know I was kind of struggling to understand it. I thought it was just a parody of Jesus. In reality, it's basically making fun of everything else that was happening around Jesus' time and then throwing in a Jesus reference about halfway through.
Right.
Would you say that's also pretty accurate?
A funny thing about that is when the movie came out in 1979,
right,
it was banned in parts of Europe for being considered blasphemous. But then that ban lasted 30 years until I think like 2003, when the film board of Europe was like, yeah, we actually don't know what we're talking about, and we're sorry.
They just assumed that it was...
They just assumed?
Yeah, because going into it, I was like, is this going to be a parody of Jesus? No, it's just making fun of literally everything else around Jesus.
Yeah.
It's not even about Jesus. Brian is not a fake Jesus or anything. He doesn't claim to be. If anything, he goes out of his way to not be that. Yeah.
He just wants to be a normal dude.
He's just a dude living in Rome-occupied Judea.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, I want to join the rebellions against the Romans. If anything, that's just like not even what Jesus really did. He wasn't really all that rebellious against the Romans. Brian's so completely different from Jesus. It's just like a whole... it's on its base level... For Monty Python, you'd think they'd go directly for Jesus and have the Jesus character be mocked constantly, but he really only shows up once.
Yeah.
Near the beginning of the movie. And that's it. It's played with a completely straight face. It is given no amount of ridicule or mockery. And then the rest of it is with Brian. And that's so tame, thinking what Monty Python could have done with that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Now, when I say tame, I mean relative to the subject matter. I do not mean in terms of the content of the movie, because comparing this to Holy Grail, I was like, Holy Grail, this is so much raunchier than Holy Grail. It is so raunchy. It gets ridiculous.
It gets crazy, yeah.
Yeah, I have to sometimes. Granted, I kind of knew it would be going in, but I did have to question your sanity a little bit. Like, why does Walter like this movie so much again? Because of how raunchy it got. Which
I need to remember what year that was, but when it was the Monty Python, The Life of Brian 40th anniversary.
That would have been 2019.
Yeah.
Yes.
I drove all the way up to Mount Vernon. From my parents, which was like an hour from them, to go to this like little tiny theater, and I was like the youngest person there to watch it because they were doing a 40th anniversary remaster in the theaters.
Right.
But the theater was packed. It
right.
was full, and I was the youngest person there, and I still have it somewhere, like this little. It was like a little hat I got, a little like packet with like stickers and stuff.
Wait, was it like the hat that Brian's wearing most of the time?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So is that? I don't mean to sound like assume anything. Was that like a yarmulke he was wearing? Okay.
But it was like paper mache.
Right. No, that's still cool though. It actually fit the hat he was wearing most of the time better than like an official thing made out of cloth. Honestly, that sounds so fun. Let me see here. I do want to ask, I mean, you say you don't know why you like this movie.
I don't. It's just really funny to me.
That's probably the reason.
And that's coming from someone who I'm not a very religious person.
Right.
Like that stuff really never came to me.
Right.
So this movie's just really funny.
Yeah, and like I have some religious background for sure, but I'd say, okay, this is something I wanted to bring up with this movie specifically. I think there's always I'm not going to get too deep philosophical in it. And also I don't want to talk too much about it on the radio. But I will say, again, the movie does not make direct fun of Jesus. So if you are a religious person, you'll probably want to avoid watching it for other reasons, namely the raunchiness. But just rest easy knowing that it's not directly making fun of Jesus and pointing fingers at him specifically. If anything, it is so tame in comparison to any of that. So that's one thing to just keep in mind.
Right.
I will say, though, I mean, in terms of raunchiness, it was off the charts. I will fully admit, I find Holy Grail funny, but this movie had a scene, and you'll know when I bring it up. It's the part where he has a bunch of people following him, and he's trying to convince them that he's not the Messiah. They think he's a Messiah, and they're running around with their sandals off because he kicked off one of his shoes at some point earlier in the movie, and they're like, the sandal's the sign. No, this gourd he gave us is the sign. And they go out into the middle of the desert following him around, and they're like, give us a sign that you are the Messiah. And he's like, I'm not the Messiah. He keeps telling them that he's not, but then all these convenient things keep popping up, like how he made some guy talk for the first time who'd taken a vow of silence, and he just stepped on his foot and made him talk for the first time in 18 years, but it's worded like, oh, he made this mute man speak. Look at him. He's got magical healing powers. And he goes, I am not the Messiah. I'm not the Messiah. And one of the people in the crowd goes, only the true Messiah would deny his purity. And he goes, what chance does that give me? Fine, I am the Messiah. When I tell you, the moment he said that, and then when they start praising him, and the moment after that he says something extremely explicit to them, let me tell you, I was in laughing fits the moment that happened. It was hysterical to me. I want you to understand, I found it so funny.
Yeah.
It's hard not to laugh at that sequence, honestly. I will say, bravo to you for finding humor in this, because I also did, and I'm glad you recommended it.
Yes.
It's not a plot movie. It's not anything life-changing, but is it funny? Oh,
Absolutely.
so funny. It is just plain silliness all the way through.
Now, do you have a favorite scene from the movie?
I mean, there is the
I know of a couple.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I think I like the yes I am the Messiah part.
Yeah.
That part made me laugh the most, but I think my favorite joke by far was the part where Brian has to graffiti the Roman Colosseum, and he goes there and says like a graffiti thing of Romans go home, and he says it incorrectly in Latin.
Grammar incorrectly.
Yeah, incorrectly. And then John Cleese's centurion walks up and starts like beating him up and telling him to write it correctly, and then tells him to write it 100 times so it ends up all over the walls. And then the next morning they're like, oh, no, you did it correctly. Don't do it again. Like they're disciplining an elementary schooler. And then the centurion shows up and starts chasing him. That by far is my favorite scene.
Yeah. So I could talk about the scene with the space alien. Yeah.
I had a feeling that would be brought up by one of us.
One of us.
One of us had to mention the aliens. What?
So I can't remember the exact sequence of events leading up to it, but it was just kind of 100% random.
It was after the infamous scene that's on the internet of the emperor saying, oh, I have this great friend in Rome named something we cannot say on the radio.
No.
Even as a joke. But after that, Brian escapes and starts running up this spiral staircase.
Yes.
Where this worker had stopped working on the staircase because he dropped his hammer. And so Brian falls off the staircase. And then he falls into a spaceship with aliens in it. Right?
Right.
Now you pick it up. What were you going to say?
About the aliens, I watched this documentary over Thanksgiving break called, I think it was just called Life of Brian.
Right.
But it was about the production of this movie. And this documentary was recorded in mid-90s, before a bunch of these guys passed away.
Right.
But they were talking about the scene with the alien, and they were just like, yeah, we want to put something just so insane and so out of place and just so out there that you just step back and are confused. What did I just watch?
Yeah. I mean, it worked.
It works, yeah.
Yeah, I remember reading somewhere, I remember reading through the Wikipedia article, and Terry Gilliam said specifically, he was just like, yeah, we put the space alien in there because people will find it funny.
Yeah.
And we just needed an excuse to get him to not die from falling after getting to the top of those stairs. So he just put in the aliens. And to be fair, I wasn't expecting them to go all out on designing the aliens. They have like hands with eyes in them, and they just fly throughout space, and then they just crash land, and nobody acknowledges it happening for the rest of the movie. That doesn't play into Brian being the Messiah figure. I thought that would have something to do with it, where it's like, oh, he came from the sky, he's a magical figure. No, it's just like, oh, you're back from space. Welcome back.
Yes.
That's it. Yeah, they just did it for the funny of it. Again, that's probably the only example of in this movie of a not running gag. Because the entire rest of the time, it's again just one running gag of a comedy sketch of a movie, which is part of its charm. It's part of its beauty. It's part of its entertainment value, for sure. I think we've kind of exhausted what all we can say about this movie. There's some
say so the ending.
Yeah.
When Brian gets arrested and inevitably crucified for his crime of being part of the rebellion and being against the Romans.
Yeah.
What's there even to say about this?
So much.
There's just so much to say. It ends in a musical. Yeah.
Stay on the brighter side of life.
Because they wanted it to end like a Disney movie.
What?
That's what yeah.
Is that the official thing they said?
Yeah. They said they wanted it to end like a Disney movie. And so they're like, oh, let's end it with a musical.
Naturally.
Yeah. And so who was it? It was the girl. They came to rescue Brian. But they got the wrong guy.
Yeah. It was the one guy at the beginning who was just calling everybody Big Nose.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I'm Brian. Wait, no, I'm not Brian. I said that as a joke. Don't rescue me. I said that as a joke. Which is so funny. He's like, no, I don't want to be saved from...
Like, no, I'm Brian.
Yeah,
Come get me.
I'm Brian. There's so much.
There's so much.
It's so raunchy.
Talk about this movie forever.
Yeah, and we don't have forever. We gotta speed it up because we again, super special episode. But I think we've laughed harder at this entire moment than we have the entirety of Weekend. So I'm completely fine with it. We've just laughed constantly for the past 15 minutes. So fine by me. When we come back from the break, we're going to talk about another one of the movies that Walter has suggested for tonight's episode. But until then, here is some music. We'll be back soon. Hello. Welcome back to What to Watch Weekends. My name is Nathan.
And my name is Walter.
And we are back to Your Movie Central. The finale episode of What to Watch Weekends, we return. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your outlook, I'd say fortunately, but also unfortunately since it's the last episode. But we're not going to let that deter us into our next movie that we're going to be talking about tonight, because we are on our last episode. I figured I'd let Walter pick the 3 movies we're talking about.
Yes.
During our last break, we talked about Life of Brian. During this break, we are going to talk about, and try not to laugh hysterically as much as we did at Brian, about the movie Clerks from 1994, available to rent from places such as Amazon, YouTube, and Fandango at Home. Basic plot summary of Clerks from 1994 is it follows a store clerk by the name of Dante, who is forced to come into his convenience store job on his day off and meets a bunch of quirky characters while dealing with his best friend who works at the video store next door by the name of Randall, and his constantly changing relationship status over the course of a single day. It's a roller coaster of emotions in that department for sure. So, now that I've mentioned that, just understand that it's kind of a slice of life movie, so there's no direct plot line, but it is at least a story, or it's at least a situation with stuff happening with characters, and there is maybe some marginal amount of growth, but I'm not going to take away too much of my own analysis quite yet, and I want to ask the person who picked this movie, Walter, what do you like about Clerks?
I guess I picked this movie because how, in a way, relatable it is to be, a dude who's in your mid-20s and, working a job you hate. Not to say I don't like my job, but there was a point in my life where I kind of felt this way, and I was working a job that I hated.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, this sucks.
Sure. And so the movie connected to that.
The movie connects with me, yeah.
Very directly. I can understand that because, honestly, it has all the trademarks of an independent movie, one of them being that it's so stripped down and simplified into a slice of life, just day in the life of a worker at a convenience store that hates his job. And it's done in the way of essentially, there's just a clicking in my headphones right now. I hope that goes away at some point soon, but I'm going to ignore it for now. The real point is that Clerks clearly was written by somebody who was at the time working in a convenience store job that he hated and wanted to capitalize on that.
Yes. They actually filmed it at the convenience store he worked at too.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised at all. I mean, it's a trademark of an independent movie, but that's because it works, and it's what you're supposed to do when you're starting out in the film industry. You're supposed to make something that's relatable to you and hopefully universally relatable to a lot of other people. And no matter what generation you're from, you're probably going to relate to Clerks in some capacity or understand it. And I'll say this much. I think I subconsciously was remembering working at H&M when I was watching Clerks. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Because I didn't hate my job at H&M, but I did also have my fair share of quirky customers and definitely didn't like working at the register and definitely felt like I was kind of at a dead end, like I couldn't go any further with it because I was working at it for the summer. So I related to some aspects of it for sure, and I can understand people who work at a dead-end job. If anything, what I was thinking when I was watching it was, man, after college, I hope I don't end up in a place like this. And all my brain was telling me was, hey, when you get out of college, you're going to end up in a place like this. Hope you're ready for it. That was what was going through my head, which is fun to be thinking about. Yeah. But, you know, I feel like I'm saying a lot, but not going anywhere quite yet, which is a good allegory for the movie. But
right.
You say some things.
Yeah. So those of you who are watching the stream, you might notice we have a color filter on.
Yes, we do.
Once. Yes.
Yeah, I decided to shake things up tonight for it being the final episode and all that. So I put a black and white filter over the videos because I thought that'd be funny. And then I said to Walter as he was coming into the studio, I was like, we're basically making our own version of Clerks. Look at this. Ha 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 ha. But you got so distracted by your phone, you texter. Generation Z, ha ha, point and laugh.
Yes.
What was the point you were going to bring up with the color filter?
The movie, the first one at least, was recorded entirely in black and white. Because it was on the movie was a pretty low budget movie.
Right. Totally.
And from what I've been told, they never were able to get the colors correct, and they weren't able to get all the lighting and everything correct. So they're just like, let's make it black and white. Right. Then you can't see all that.
Yeah, I mean, that tends to happen with some independent movies. I know that Christopher Nolan did that. I know that Darren Aronofsky did that for Pi as well. I know Christopher Nolan did it for Following. Darren Aronofsky did it for Pi. It's not an uncommon thing to do your first movie in black and white. Apparently, it's known to be kind of a, I suppose, level playing field because it costs less money when they're using traditional film stock type of a thing. But that's an important point to bring up. That was part of the reason why I think I enjoyed the movie, because it gives it this almost more real quality. Not to say that it's unreal. It still feels very absurd at times, but it feels more kind of universal. It kind of portrays the relatability of the movie a lot better through the use of black and white, because you're not distracted by the colors being off.
Right.
It was a good choice on their part to put it in black and white if they couldn't have gotten the colors right, because black and white requires more of a lighting to get right rather than get all the background colors correct. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So by doing that, they actually made it a little more relatable. You look like you're on the verge of saying something.
No.
Oh, did I scare it out of you again?
No.
Okay. You just looked like you were about to say something.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, buddy boy.
Where to begin with this movie? Well, I mean, we already did.
We've already begun.
We already did, but
yeah,
it's been a while since I've seen it.
Sure.
At least a couple of months.
Sure.
But, what is there to say about this movie? Do you have anything?
I do have a couple of things. You seem like you're a bit lost for words here.
Yeah.
So I'll pick it up a little bit. I'll say this much. I wasn't expecting a movie that was all dialogue done by some clearly not professionally trained actors in a first movie situation to actually be as funny as Clerks is.
Right.
I'll be honest. At certain points, it felt like it was using the comedy rule of don't just keep talking until it gets funny again, because it's not going to be funny again. It used that rule and actually somehow made it funny again from them just continuing to talk. Which, look at us, we're continuing to talk and somehow still manage to be funny. So it can be done. It can be done correctly. At least I think we're being funny. I think we're being funny.
Could be.
We're being funny to ourselves, that's for sure. But I will say Clerks, for an independent movie, the dialogue is so fast-paced and snappy and delivered with such, like, conviction from all the actors at the very least, even if they sometimes maybe aren't conveying it perfectly due to just not being trained as like professional actors, which is completely fine. You start to like not, you kind of just submit yourself to the movie and watch it rather than think about it too much. And you start to realize, hey, if I wanted to pick up on a lot of these details and a lot of the things they're saying, I can easily just go back and watch it again because of how fast they're talking, right?
Right.
I mean, I missed half the title cards that were on screen to show different characters who were walking into the store. But I always thought, oh, I can go back and pay attention to it later next time.
Oh, boy. My roommate's texting me right now of just lines from the movie.
Oh, no.
And it's just, they keep popping up.
Yeah? What's one that you can say that is appropriate for radio? Are there any? Because the movie's very explicit.
It's very,
very explicit. Yeah, we can't. I mean,
there's a lot we can't talk about.
Okay, there's one that we can talk about because you've mentioned it before. We can talk about when they were mentioning the difference between
the Star Wars.
Yeah, Star Wars. You mentioned this.
You texted me that earlier today.
Yeah, the quote is essentially something along the lines of, which one do you like better, Return of the Jedi or Empire Strikes Back? And they get into this whole argument over how Return of the Jedi is actually better or makes you think more because they hired a bunch of trade workers to work on the second iteration of the Death Star. And then somebody in the convenience store is like a roof applier. So he's like, actually, no, I'm a
contractor.
I'm a contractor and I was hired by a gangster. And I didn't take the job because I didn't want to die. And my friend took the job and he ended up dying to the gangster. So anybody who got hired on as an independent contractor for the Death Star by the Empire knew what they were getting into. It's their fault. And I thought that was really funny. It kind of puts things into perspective of this is exactly the kind of movie that an independent filmmaker would make because it's a nerdy thing. They're just talking about nerdy stuff and they're just talking most of the time, but it's also very real, very relatable. Of course, not everybody has had that time where they close down a convenience store to play hockey on the roof or where they go to a funeral for their ex-girlfriend, and then your buddy knocks over the coffin. We haven't all had that experience before, but it is funny and absurd enough to be relatable on a certain element, for sure.
Yeah.
It's just kind of that headspace, I suppose. What?
Oh, we can just talk about, like, the funny scenes.
Yeah. I hate to always list those off, but you go first.
Yeah. Well, I know for the scene with the funeral, it changes from like live action to animated.
What? What now?
What?
What do you mean?
Like, the version of the movie I have.
Yeah.
It's the animation of the Clerks animated series.
What?
And
No. I'm not like confused or anything. I haven't seen this version. So kind of enlighten me on what happens here.
So the scene where they leave to go to the funeral is all in color, but in color animated.
Really?
Like the Clerks animated series. At least that's the DVD that I have.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't see that version. I just saw them in the car talking. And it's just them talking while in the car.
Yeah, and the whole funeral is like animated out.
In the version I saw, it just cuts to them running out of the. It's just like 5 minutes later, and then them running out of the church. They actually animated.
They animated that.
Really? Yeah. Wow! I did not know that. A part of me wants to see that. The other part of me does not want to see that at all, because I feel like it'd go way too far beyond. But at the same time, I'm curious, is it good animation?
It's good. Yeah, they made a whole cartoon of it and a whole like cartoon series. It was only like 6 or 7 episodes.
Wow.
But it's like the expanded Clerks universe.
Of course,
of them doing, stuff.
Right. So I'm guessing it's just extra scenes that weren't in the original movie.
That and then them. I don't even remember. It's been a while since I've seen these, but it's like crazy things where it's like, oh, there's like some supervillain, and just all these things. I don't know.
No, okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, if you don't know, then I don't know either, because you know more about this than I do.
Yes.
The biggest things I can say about Clerks is that it feels like an independent movie. It's funny. It's entertaining. It has severe tonal whiplash by the end of it. But I will say that Dante's friend, which was Randall, he's kind of a jerk the entire time.
The whole movie.
Until the very end, where he kind of won me over with what he said. Because he basically points out all the flaws with himself and with Dante throughout the entire movie. And I'll be honest, I was kind of excited to watch this movie. I've wanted to watch it for a while because it's a classic for the independent. And I am glad I watched it.
Yeah.
It definitely inspired me in the way of I can definitely make something like this with my film classmates, and you and I could totally make something like this. How hard can it be? If they can do it, I think we could do it, honestly. We could shoot something on black and white and, let's go crash a funeral on film. We should do
We should do that.
No.
Not the funeral part.
Not the funeral part.
Yeah.
But I think we can do something as simple as this, because in reality, you can make an entertaining film and say something and relate to people with something so simple. Kind of helps that it's all in a convenience store, and we're all very familiar with that state of mind for sure. But yeah, that's all we can really say about it, I suppose. Yeah. We could say more, but we got bigger fish to fry when it comes to state of mind. We're going to take another break, and when we come back, we're going to jump into the third and final movie we're going to be talking about, which will be Into the Wild. So stick around for that. Welcome back to What to Watch Weekends. My name is Nathan.
My name is Walter.
And we are back to the final episode of What to Watch Weekends for the final and third movie we will be talking about tonight. Although we did kind of get a little sidetracked when talking about Clerks, and we didn't say much of substance, we will be talking about the third movie that Walter recommended to me, or more so just the third movie that was on his list.
On my list.
Don't.
I'm not going to mess with this
Don't
anymore.
mess with the mics. I think it's causing more interference. We're hearing the voices of the electronic mastermind, and it's getting into my head, and it's really distracting. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump into the third movie, which is Into the Wild from 2007, which is currently free with ads on YouTube, but can also be rented from places such as Amazon, YouTube, and Fandango at Home. The basic plot summary of Into the Wild, if you could really call it that, is it follows the story of a man by the name of Chris McCandles, who ran away from home after he graduated college in 1990.
Yep.
Spoilers for the movie, but it's a real life story, so just keep that in mind. He was later found dead in the middle of the Alaska wilderness in 1992.
Yes.
So this is based on a true story, but it's the Hollywood based on a true story type of a thing. So maybe a little romanticized here and there, but there was a real Christopher McCandles. He did run away from home.
This really happened.
Yes, this really did happen. He was found dead in 1992, around the exact same time. So this came out in 2007, many years after it actually happened. Let's kind of ask Walter here.
Yeah.
What do you like about this movie?
That's a good question.
Right.
Again, it's in a way relatable. In a way that I can't describe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fun. Maybe do you think it would have helped if you were thinking about this beforehand? Kind of thing?
A little, yeah.
Or is this kind of you've thought about it before?
I've thought about this before, yeah.
And I
don't know.
You just don't know how to put it into words.
I don't know how to explain it, yeah.
Fair enough. But you do like the movie.
Yeah, I like this movie.
That's for sure. I wanted to ask, do you like Chris as a character or as a real person, or do you like the style of the movie more?
Funny you bring that up because I read the book for this movie earlier this year.
Yeah.
And that's probably the fastest I've ever read a book in my whole life.
Right.
I think I read the whole book in like a week.
Yeah.
But you say that, and his character was portrayed very well as a reflection of the real person.
Uh-huh.
And where am I getting at for this?
You'll get there. Just keep going with it.
I'm saying words, but
No, I think you'll get there eventually.
yeah, he's a reflection of the real person, and it really just makes you think about, you know,
think about what he did,
what he
actually
and
did,
all the people he, touched in his life.
Right.
Well, there's a better way to explain that, but you know what I mean? Like all the people he affected and all the like different groups of people he interacted with.
Right. I mean, so what you're saying is that the movie is a very accurate representation of those moments and his overall life story.
Yeah.
That's good to know, because I was wondering how accurate it was and how well it portrayed the actual writings that they found with him and the people he actually met. Like, he meets people like hippies and older people in the middle of the desert and these like Swedish tourists or something like that. And I always wonder if they're just putting in those events for
those
the sake
were all real people that he actually, interacted with.
Right, which makes it more interesting, I suppose.
Yeah.
When you know it's a real story, I suppose this movie takes on a different quality, because I would say if you didn't know this was based on a real story, you'd be like, what is this? What is the point of any of this? When you know it's a real story, it takes on this it takes on an extra level of engaging, I suppose, engagement rather than engaging, but an extra level of engagement that you wouldn't get if you didn't know it was a true story, I'd say.
Right.
And that to me is what I found interesting. I will say though, in terms of the stylistic choices made in the movie, I love Into the Wild.
Yeah.
Stylistically, it's okay. I think we're kind of waffling a bit. So we got to figure out a way to get this back on track. We have to make sure that we're not getting lost on our last episode, man. We got to like step it up. So here's what I'm going to say. Into the Wild to me feels like almost half a documentary,
right,
with the cinematography style. I love all the handheld stuff. I like the way it is all put together. And at times it changes style just enough, but stays within the realm of cinematic quality with that documentary style, that it is such a specific brand of mockumentary that I found it extremely inspiring. And it's something that I've wanted to do with my own work before, with my own projects, that I couldn't help but be enamored by just the visual eye candy of watching it. And I will say, editing wise, it is edited so specifically, and it is combined with some really good music choices to make the overall experience so entertaining to watch as a movie. As a story, I have a lot of thoughts. As a matter of fact, I have a lot of opinions about the person of Christopher McCandless. I will say that, let me see here, Emil Hirsch does a very good job. He's a very good performer.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you'd say that he portrayed the person.
He portrayed the real person really well.
Really well.
Yeah.
Good to know. You could kind of tell that he was trying his darndest the entire time. The way I'd honestly say that Roger Ebert put it best. He described, again, I read this from the Wikipedia summary of the reviews of it, but apparently in Roger Ebert's review of the movie, he said that Emil Hirsch isn't really giving a performance. He's just portraying a person. Mm-hmm. And it goes beyond just a stock performance of a character. It kind of transcends normal kind of ideas of what a performance of a character would look like in a movie setting, which I think is a good way of describing it. He has this energy to him.
Yeah. And as for the real person, I know it's one of those like icebreaker questions, like, oh, if you could, meet anyone ever alive or dead, who would it be?
Right.
The real life Chris McCandless would probably be one of my top 5 picks easily.
Really?
Yeah. Because he's just like, he was an intelligent person. He was like a Harvard inductee.
Right.
Like he got, what's the term? Accepted into Harvard.
Right.
But instead he decided to go on his, grand hitchhiking trip across the United States.
To Alaska.
And funny thing is, they brought this up in the book. If he didn't do that, then we wouldn't be talking about that. Like if he didn't end up in the bus and just went home normally, then we probably just wouldn't be this big of a thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is that's kind of an obvious but good point
obviously,
to make.
Yeah.
I mean, we wouldn't be talking about him, and that's the interesting part. Because from what I've understood, he didn't really want to be this big figure.
No.
He just kind of did it for the sake of it.
He just did it for the hell of it, or for the heck of it. Yeah.
Heck of it, yeah. He basically just did it for the sake of it.
Yeah.
Rather than wanting to be seen as a huge figure.
Right.
Based on the top of it. And so, because of that, I suppose it's kind of the inverse of Life of Brian, wherein he's not wanting to be a messianic figure, but being called that. Although in this case, he wasn't even being called a messianic figure. It's years after his death that people look up to him in that way, I'd say. There is kind of that. I've heard people who are obsessed with this story. There was apparently a lot of copycats after he was found dead, who eventually went on to also go out into the middle of the woods and die.
Do this and go out and die, and then I know there's so many stories of people hiking like the Pacific Crest Trail, and the whatever the Central America one is, and like all those through trails, and doing dressing up. Like there was this one guy who dressed up in a wedding dress and hiked the entire trail from Mexico to Alaska.
Right.
Because he was inspired by the book.
Right. Which is not the point of the book.
Which is not the point, yeah.
You're not supposed to get that out of the book. Yeah. Okay, so I think this is as good a time as any to really break down my big thoughts surrounding Into the Wild and really get to the core of my opinions on it. Because while I think it's cool that you'd want to meet Chris McCandless, I would not want to meet Chris McCandless, quite honestly. I think he was a hippie.
Real? Yeah.
I think he probably was. From the way he talked in the movie, he sounded like a hippie.
Yeah.
And I also disagree with a lot of the choices he made. Well, not a lot of the choices. The big choice he made.
The big ones, yeah.
Go out on my own to Alaska because XYZ reason. Because I can.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be prepared. I'm just going out because society is against me.
Yeah.
And I'm going to just do it. So here's why I need to kind of break down some stuff. I was looking into a little bit of the things surrounding the actual story. And now, granted, some of this came from YouTube comment sections, so I ignored most of this. But on the Wikipedia, now, of course, Wikipedia not being the most trustworthy either, but I have heard that what was her name? Chris's sister published a book that was similar to Into the Wild, which was, what was it called? I'm looking into it really quickly. Book of the same name. What was her name? Chris McCandless' sister. Here, just bear with me, Kareen. The Wild Truth. Okay, so Kareen McCandless, Chris's sister, published a book called The Wild Truth, which was her recollection of events. Because Into the Wild, the book, was not written by Chris McCandless. It was written by somebody else.
Yes.
That took entries from Chris McCandless' notebook and put them into a memoir of him, right?
Right.
And so Karine wrote her own memoir. And in that memoir, she lists the fact that apparently her parents were not great people.
Yeah.
And mistreated her and her brother pretty significantly, mistreated each other pretty significantly. Now, again, some of that I saw from YouTube comment section, so gonna ignore it. But I haven't read her book. However, in the movie, they do show scenes of their parents not being the best.
Being great parents.
No.
Yeah, there was a lot about that in the Into the Wild book.
Right.
And honestly, I forgot she wrote a book.
Right.
I forgot she wrote a book.
Right, which is fair, I suppose. I mean, not to say that hers has any less value, but at the same time, it seemed pretty clear to me that they did include that their parents weren't that great.
Yeah.
And had a lot of issues. So it wasn't like she was adding a huge new thing to the conversation. Still valid point of view to have, for sure. And I think her perspective is still worthwhile. It just seems to me like it's pitched as if she was writing something completely new and unheard of. And no, it sounded like it was still in the original story of Chris.
Yeah.
Right? It was just her side of that. And so when I look at it from that perspective, I still formulate this opinion of Chris that I think is very important to voice, which is the more the movie went on, the more I kind of got annoyed with Chris's choice to go out on his own and run away from his not great parents.
Right.
Because he left his sister behind.
Even his sister. So his sister was, I think, the closest person to him.
Yes.
And he didn't tell anyone about him leaving. He just up and left.
Uh-huh.
And didn't tell anyone where he went. Didn't like, notify anyone. And they didn't find out until a while later.
Yeah.
Until they're like, oh, he's like missing and we don't know where he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his sister wasn't even told. She didn't get a letter. She didn't get a phone call.
Nope.
She just was going, oh, he left.
He left.
Okay, I have to deal with this now. I love my brother, but I think he's doing the right thing too. Now he's just gone. What do I do now? I'd say this much. If they had a bad home life, from the sounds of it, they did. Chris being his essential solution being, I'm going to run away from home, is not a solution in general, and it's not a solution for his sister either. Is that a fair point to bring up? Running away from your problems does not fix them, ladies and gentlemen. And if your sister's trapped there, I feel like people have the right to criticize you for leaving your sister behind in that situation, because you're almost thinking selfishly of, hey, I can escape this, but I'm not thinking, oh, I can help her escape this. If anything, bring her along on your great road trip. Maybe if you both end up passing away, well, that's unfortunate, but you're both running away. It's more understandable from that perspective. It's still understandable that he ran away, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't really excuse him leaving her behind.
Yeah.
And doesn't excuse him going off and basically being a hippie the entire time. Because the more the movie went on and the more he interacted with other people, the more I realized that Emile Hirsch was doing a great job of portraying what I imagine the real Crispy Candles did whenever people who were older than him, who had more experience than him, and were much wiser of the world than he ever was, because he died at such a young age, whenever they told him, hey, running away from your problems and wanting to avoid interacting with people is only going to lead to sadness and is not going to solve your problems, he just ignored that and continued on his merry way to Alaska.
Yes.
And died in the wilderness.
Yeah.
In a really lame way.
In a really lame way. Yeah.
It doesn't matter if he starved or if he got poisoned from some bush that he ate. I don't really care. He died in a lame way, just in the middle of the woods with no friends, no family, nobody who loved him, in close proximity.
Yeah.
In the middle of nowhere. On the one hand, I understand the desire to get away from society, and I understand some of the things he said about materialism, I understand that he was a book smart person.
Yeah.
On the other hand, he in the movie is portrayed as telling an old man, hey, old man who had his, like, lost his family when he was in World War II to a drunk driver. He basically tells this old guy in the movie, human relationships are not the core of joy. Nature is the core of joy in this life. And all I wanted to do was shake Chris and yell at him, buddy boy, you're telling this to an old man who's lived a lot longer than you and has more experience than you. You don't know what you're talking about. And do you understand that the beauty of nature is improved by having human friendships? Do you understand that, buddy boy? No, you don't. You're just a nobody. That's what I wanted to say. And it's a strong opinion, I know. But I feel like we should not romanticize Chris as much as some people do. People who copy him are also kind of stupid. They're kind of stupid. If you can understand that part, then I don't want to take away too much from you, like, wanting to meet him. I get that, and I respect that. But as long as you understand my point of view being he's kind of an idiot. He was kind of an idiot. He was book smart.
Yeah.
Very book smart. He was academically a well-rounded guy. But no matter the reason, running away did not solve his problems, caused more problems for other people. And the people he affected, it was interesting and it was heartwarming, but I don't think any of the people he met, he connected with on a real, deep, emotional, loving level. As long as you understand that, then, I mean, do you understand all of that?
Yeah.
Then
I got into a funny debate with one of my friends a while back where I was talking about this movie, and I was like, I think I just finished reading the book that week, and I was talking about it, and I'm like, oh, I read the book, and like, there's all these parts in the book where they just didn't put in the movie for sake of whatever time. It's a movie, and so we got into this debate whether Chris was an idiot or if he was truly found the meaning of freedom. And
what did you argue?
I argued that he found the meaning of freedom.
Right.
Because, of course. And it was a pretty heated debate. I think about this kind of often. And I got banned from my friend's Discord server, and he hasn't let me back. I know. Yeah.
That's silly. I'll say this much. I can agree that Chris found the meaning of freedom to him.
Yeah.
To him and him alone.
To him only.
Him only. And that, to me, I think it's kind of a mix of both. I wouldn't say it's mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
I think he was an idiot who found the meaning of true freedom to himself. Somebody who was more book smart than he was, I suppose, street smart.
Yes.
And understanding of the world around him. For a 23-year-old who had not lived life and had not matured as a person, he definitely found the meaning of freedom, which to him was quite literally running away in the 90s and not being tethered to anything around him. But that also meant that he didn't experience true happiness. He didn't experience true connection. He definitely didn't experience true joy. He connected with nature and found freedom in that. But I think there was a moment that was also portrayed in the movie where he wrote in a book before he died, quite literally, he wrote down, true happiness is best when shared. And he just avoided all of that.
Yeah.
His entire life, the entirety of his very tragically short life.
Funny you say that, because rewind a little bit.
Yeah.
I've always kind of known about this story, and I've always kind of like known it was a movie.
Yeah.
And I didn't watch the movie until about a year ago.
Right.
Like, for the first time. And for as long as I can remember, I've always said happiness is only real when shared, and like put it as like my Instagram bio, whatever.
Right.
Put that up there, but never really knew where it originated from.
Right.
And so when I finally got around to watching this movie, I'll be honest, this is one of the movies I can. It sounds funny in retrospect, but this movie made me cry the first time I watched it.
That's fair.
Yeah.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
I mean, that ending scene specific. I want to make it perfectly clear to you and to the audience that I can understand people being obsessed with this story. I can understand why you connect with it. Personally, I didn't. That's what I'm just saying.
Right.
I personally didn't connect with it. And for the longer it went on, I just did not relate to Chris. I did not understand why he did what he did. I could understand to a capacity why, but the further it went on, I was just like, you're sounding more and more like a hippie. But that's just my way of looking at it. And I can totally understand this being a movie you cry to.
You're right.
What?
Right.
It is an emotional movie.
Yeah.
It does have an emotionally impactful ending. And quality-wise, as a movie, it is fantastic. It blows it out of the water. Like, it is the purest definition of a movie I can openly admit, and a story I can openly admit, is an interesting story that is well portrayed in an extremely well-made movie that is not for me at all.
Right.
It's a perfect example of that principle. But I can still sit here and say, like, objectively speaking, it is an interesting story. There's a lot to cover. The movie does it justice, apparently, from your input.
Yes.
And because of that, I am fully fine with giving it like an absolute 9 out of 10 total recommend. I would recommend this to people.
100%.
For sure. I'd recommend it to people. Maybe you'll get something out of it that I didn't. I know I kind of spoiled it, but at the same time, it is a true story. So you kind of have to know the basics of the story, of the true story going into the movie for sure. I'd recommend doing some research on that before watching the movie. But doesn't mean you have to read the book. You just need to know that it's a true story, and you'll get so much out of the experience for sure. Just because I was able to rant about it for a while, even though it's not a story that I relate to, I was still able to rant about it for a good long portion of time for sure. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
In other news.
Other news?
I guess news? Well, 2 years ago news.
Yeah.
The bus.
Yeah.
The bus. They used the actual bus that he was found in the
Really?
movie.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. But 2 years ago, because of the movie and because of the book, so many people have gone out to Alaska to go see it.
Right. It's a pilgrimage at this point.
A pilgrimage, yeah. So in 2022, 3 years ago, doy.
Yeah.
2022, the Alaska State Department was like, enough is enough. We need less people going out to this remote part of the woods. So let's just pick up the bus with a helicopter and take it.
Yeah.
So now it's in, I forget the name of the museum, but the bigger museum in Alaska.
Right.
And it's like, hey, here's a safe spot where it is. I have a picture of them taking it, just picking it up and taking it on my blog.
Nice.
But yeah.
Wait, were you there to see?
I wasn't.
Okay.
No, I just screenshotted it.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
Well,
but it's just a cool picture of the bus. And yeah.
It's just them picking up a bus?
Just picking it up and taking it.
I mean, yeah, that is pretty cool. I will say I didn't know that they used the actual bus. That is a very cool detail.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that just goes to show that they, again, went to the extra lengths of adapting it. It's probably an example of a good adaptation in movie form, for sure. So, again, recommend Into the Wild if you haven't seen it before. I've always known about it. It's been on my watch list for a long time, but like Clerks and like Life of Brian, I was honestly glad to just have an excuse to finally watch it when you brought it up. Mm-hmm. So, I've now seen it, and I definitely will rewatch it. Even though the story to me is not relatable.
Yeah.
I definitely think the quality of it and the way it's portrayed makes it worth rewatching. So, yeah. With all that being said, I know we've ranted for quite a while on this one. Or I've ranted. but you still have provided a lot to
Yeah.
say. We are going to go to another music break, and when we come back, we're going to jump into a very interesting segment. So stick around for that. Welcome back to What to Watch Weekends. My name is Nathan.
My name is Walter.
And we are back for the last ever break on What to Watch Weekends for 88.1 The Burg. So sad. So very, very sad. But again, we're going out with a bang rather than a whisper. So before we go any further, we talked about 3 movies tonight.
Yes.
They were Clerks, Life of Brian, and Into the Wild. These were 3 movies that Walter was a fan of.
Movies that are important to me.
Movies that you like.
Movies that I like.
And this was narrowed down. Those 3 were narrowed down from quite a selection
Quite
of
a
movies.
list.
Yeah,
Yes.
quite a list. So I have the list right here. When I first asked Walter, hey, do you have any movies that you really want me to talk about that we can give official reviews to? It just in honor of the ending episode, he sent me quite a big block.
Quite a big list.
Yeah, so we're just going to kind of rapid fire speed through nearly every single one that he put in there really quick here. I'll go through the list, right? Because I've got it, because the text that you sent, it's just all over the place.
All over, yeah.
So I have them more in direct bullet points, right?
Right.
So here is more so the lightning round honorable mentions from Walter's pick of final movies for What to Watch Weekends. First off, Stop Making Sense, which was the
Talking Heads.
Yeah.
It was their live recording of their album.
Stop Making Sense?
The album of the same name.
Right.
Where, have you seen it?
No. I know it was in theaters a couple years back here in the Ellensburg Theater. I didn't go see it, but I heard about it at the time.
I've probably brought this up once before, but we're supposed to be quick about this.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah.
So just
the Talking Heads, they did a live recording and like live choreography of them doing their album, and then they made that as the movie.
right.
Yeah.
And that's it?
That's it.
That's it. Okay, cool. So there's that one. You likes that because you like Talking Heads, the band.
I like Talking Heads. It's Talking Heads, not the Talking Heads.
Okay.
There's no the.
Okay, good. Thank you for that clarification. Talking Heads. Walter likes Talking Heads. Okay, so Baby Driver. This one we should be quick about because I reviewed it back in spring. I've already talked about Baby Driver. Baby Driver's awesome.
The movie's awesome.
What's not to like? All the editing's great. Great music choice. Edgar Wright is a fantastic writer. I think it's a little too dark for its own taste sometimes because Edgar Wright, I think, flourishes in comedy a lot more, but it's still a very good movie.
Yeah, I put off watching this movie for the longest time because people kept recommending it to me.
Of course,
and
I relate to that.
I'm one of those people who it's like funnier to like be out of the loop than it is to like know sometimes.
I can relate to that. I can totally relate to that feeling. To me, I just don't get around to it because I'm busy or I want to watch something else more. So I watch that instead of the thing that people recommend to me all the time. So that's what ends up happening with me.
Yeah.
But fair enough. So moving on to Blues Brothers.
Blues Brothers.
I haven't seen this movie yet. I should. I want to. It's actually the exact example of I should totally watch it. I've been meaning to for a while, but I've been out of the loop for a long time. And at this point, it's funnier to be out of the loop. But I now want to watch it.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is that all?
That's a pretty good way to put it.
Yeah, totally. So Blues Brothers is a movie that you like as well.
Mm-hmm.
Bridge Over River Kwai. I've seen this movie. It's been a while, but well, not a while. It's been a couple of years. I liked it, but it also felt a bit overlong.
Right.
But I did like the bridge.
Yes.
It's a very big bridge.
Yeah, I had to put this one up because in high school, I had this American film history class.
Right.
And part of the class was we had to watch the entire, or at least most of the American Film Institute top 100 American films.
Right.
And this was one of the movies I remember watching and being like, man, this isn't super boring.
Oh, right. Fair enough. So you remember it for that reason.
I remember it because it's good. Yeah.
Fair enough. Next up is Good Burger.
Good Burger.
Welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can I take your order? That's all I have to say about that movie. I didn't like it all that much, but I wasn't a Nickelodeon kid. I just watched SpongeBob. That's about it. I think it if you have nostalgia for it, you'll probably like it more than I ended up liking it. But I think I've seen worse comedies since then, so I might want to go back and rewatch it when I'm a bit in a lighter mood for something sillier.
Yes.
Because I think I could appreciate it more now. Although it probably doesn't help that the people I watched it with when I first watched it were people I now find extremely annoying and do not like as people anymore. So that might have some bearing on what I think of it nowadays. Point is, what do you like about Good Burger?
It's been a while since I've seen it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So you just mentioned it.
I just mentioned it because I'm like, this movie's good.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Uncut Gems. I've wanted to watch Uncut Gems. I just need to find a time when I'm not stressed out from everything else to watch it so that I don't get extra stressed out. Because I've done that before where I've watched stressful movies when I'm stressed and it compounds so quickly.
Yeah.
So I got to make sure I'm just on a day where I'm totally relaxed, have nothing going on.
It's not Adam Sandler. Yeah, isn't it Adam Sandler?
It is Adam
Sandler playing like a serious role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's done that before in Punch Drunk Love.
Yeah.
Have you seen Punch Drunk Love?
I have not.
You should watch Punch Drunk Love if you like Uncut Gems, honestly. You'd get a kick out of Punch Drunk Love.
Okay.
Honestly, if you like Uncut Gems.
Yeah.
Because he plays a serious role in that movie, too. And that movie is phenomenal. I love it so much. Terminal Man. What on earth is this?
So that's the movie where Tom Hanks lives in the airport.
Oh, that's just called The Terminal.
The Terminal? Oh.
Yeah, it's not called Terminal Man.
Okay.
Yeah, I was figuring it was that one. Yeah, The Terminal is great, I suppose. I watched it and it was kind of I prefer something like Castaway.
Yeah.
Or
I've never seen Castaway.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I never have.
Wow, you should totally watch Castaway because you like Terminal. Honestly, it's another. It's Robert Zemeckis, but basically Spielberg and Tom Hanks, but not because it's Bob Zemeckis who did Back to the Future. So
of course.
I was expecting more from a. Sorry, my grandfather just texted me and said it is Bridge on the River Kwai.
Yeah.
On the River Kwai. Okay, thank you for that correction.
Yes.
So, you should watch Castaway if you like Terminal. Because I enjoyed Terminal, but I think Castaway is a better Tom Hanks performance. What?
Oh, another movie I didn't add to this list is Better Off Dead.
Don't remind me of Better Off Dead, man. I love that movie.
Yeah.
That's such a cult thing from the 80s. My parents both got it from the video store, and we bought it on DVD. When I was last home, I couldn't find it. I'm not even kidding. I was like, where's Better Off Dead on DVD? I love that movie so much. It's so silly and so goofy. It used to be one of my favorite movies. It's not anymore, but I still like it. Let's see here. Death Wish. The Death Wish series is something you put in there.
Yes. Have you seen any of these?
I bought the first movie at Winco on DVD, and I want to watch them because they look stupid.
Yes. So imagine like a more insane version of Die Hard. That goes on for 4 movies. And so that movie we watched, Black Friday.
Yeah.
Imagine if that movie had a budget higher than like $4.
Okay, so it's basically if John Wick was produced by idiots.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just like if this generic action thing was XYZ, but it sounds like that's what it's supposed to. It's going to be because it's kind of a generic action series to begin with.
Yes. It came out at middle of the 80s at a very specific time.
When,
like Arnold Schwarzenegger movies came out and like Die Hard, Yeah. And it's like, oh, let's just like jump on that bandwagon.
But using an old Charles Bronson as the main character.
Use Charles Bronson as an old guy as the main character.
Right.
It'll make sense. It'll work. It doesn't. It doesn't.
Pretty blatant there, but fair enough.
There's 4 movies in the series. Out of the whole series, I like the 4th one because it's the worst one.
Yeah, you said that.
And because it's like, It has a very, very low rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
Right.
I looked it up the other day, and it was like a 12% or something very like bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, that's not very high. That's
No.
not very high up at all. So we've got Death Wish. I guess in the same vein, the Fast and the Furious series is something you mentioned. Why on earth did you mention Fast and the Furious?
I like cars.
Oh, fair
Yeah.
enough. Yeah, I forget you're more of a car guy, but you do have a lot of movie stuff because we're nearly halfway done with the list. But
Yeah.
I can't count, so whatever. You also brought up the Wallace and Gromit.
Wallace and Gromit.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because, I was thinking, so you had the like Lego movie episode.
Yeah.
I was thinking, oh, you should have done like a Wallace and Gromit episode.
Yeah, that'd be hard to do because it'd be a trilogy of Grand Day Out, Close Shave, and
Were Rabbit. What?
Not Were Rabbit. What's it called? The Wrong Trousers.
The Wrong Trousers.
Wrong Trousers.
Yeah.
It would be those 3 shorts, but they're short films, so it's hard to give like long-winded reviews of those because
We
they're not.
talked about what's the pirate? Is it just called Pirates?
Yeah, Pirates Band of Misfits.
Yes.
I should have. I totally could have done that actually. I
Yeah.
could have done Were Rabbit,
And, like,
Pirates, and then.
Shaun the Sheep.
Yeah. Well, no, the Shaun the Sheep movie's great.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Why are you laughing? That's an awesome movie. I've seen it many times. I grew up with Shaun the Sheep and Wallace and Gromit.
Yeah.
They were my childhood. Like, I totally should have done that. You're so right. Oh, well. Okay, let's see here. Primer.
So this is a movie no one that I know has ever seen or even heard about.
Right.
So imagine it was like it was a college film
Right.
by these college students. Have you seen it?
No, but I want to after you told me about it.
It's a sci-fi film about time travel.
Yeah.
And doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they apparently didn't want to make it make sense.
And like all the dialogue is like made up sci-fi words.
Apparently some of it is actually scientifically accurate dialogue.
But a lot of it is also just made up just to sound smart.
Right.
Because of course it is.
That's general sci-fi fare.
And that's like most of the movie.
Yep. It sounds interesting on the basis of that.
Yeah.
Because apparently you can understand it after watching it multiple times, or you start to understand it less after watching it multiple times, which is part of the reason why I'm glad we didn't talk about it for this, because I would have had to watch it multiple times before this episode likely, and I didn't have time to do that. So I could have invented a time machine to go back and watch it earlier in the week, but I didn't have time to do that either. I'm very busy all of the time. So let's see here. We're just going to mention that we had a lengthy discussion in our chat about talking about the movie Trainspotting, and we concluded we can't
talk about this
we
movie.
are not going to say anything else besides that we brought up Trainspotting, and I've seen a scene from Trainspotting, and I've wanted to watch Trainspotting, but also I don't want to watch Trainspotting, and I'm scared of Trainspotting for multiple reasons. And that's all we can say about Trainspotting. Moving on. You mentioned that you had to talk about Drive.
Yeah, I feel obligated to talk about Drive.
Okay, fulfill your obligation.
2011.
2011,
Yeah. He's literally me.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, had to do it.
Is that all you had to say?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Really quickly, another mention is the Alamo movie.
Yes. I actually watched that movie fairly recently for the first time. It's a good movie, but it's also a terrible movie because it's 3.5 hours of John Wayne at the Alamo, like the actual building. And it's supposed to be this awesome, epic film, but it was filmed almost entirely at the same location.
Yeah.
For 3 hours.
For 3.5 hours.
Yep.
Doesn't sound that interesting to me. Although it is weird because it was directed by John Wayne.
Yes.
Apparently he put in his own money. He got certain people hired. He didn't want to be the lead actor, but the studio that then later bankrolled it were like, no, we'll bankroll it if you star. So he was like, fine, I'll star in the movie. On the one hand, I've heard it sounds kind of stupid. On the other hand, I've heard passion projects and directorial debuts going much worse than this. So it is interesting that John Wayne just fizzled out over time rather than being a super memorable failure or super, I suppose, standout moment for an actor director type of a thing. It just kind of happened.
It just, yeah.
Which is something that you don't want to say about a 3.5 hour movie. That's for sure. Mm-hmm. The worst thing I could say about the movie Babylon by the guy who directed Whiplash is that it was a movie that happened.
Yeah.
And it was about 3 hours. You don't want a 3 hour movie to feel like it just happened.
It just happened.
Because it's a bigger time investment than a 2 hour movie. That's what you want. You better make sure a 3 hour movie is good, is what I'm saying. Okay. We've gotten, I mean, you also like some of the Monty Python movies.
Monty Python, yeah.
But we knew that with Life of Brian. So there's that. Okay. We've got about 5 minutes left.
Okay.
And I wanted to spend more time on this, but at the same time, I didn't want to spend more time on this. So there are 3 big questions that I wanted to ask you, Walter. The first is, do you have any favorite on-air moments from What to Watch Weekends?
Yeah. I took some short notes, but
Yeah.
I like this Star Wars episode where we were, jumping up on the tables and stuff. But I also liked the Decalogue episode.
That was one of my favorites too.
Because I legit never heard of that until immediately that show.
Right.
Yeah. And so I was just totally out of the loop and went home and watched the entire series
Wait, really?
Yeah.
I thought you said you never did. I thought you said you'd only watched the first episode.
Well, I did, and then I watched more and more the next week.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't hear that part. So you actually watched the entire thing?
I did.
So you've seen all the way through Decalogue 10?
Yeah.
You've seen like Decalogue 8, stuff like that? I mean, do you remember most of it?
Not really.
Okay, fair.
I don't know what there is to talk about that
we didn't
we
already
didn't
say?
already talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was part of the reason why it was one of my favorite episodes. I feel like I did it justice. I will say about the Decalogue, when I got I did go out and buy the Blu-ray version of the Criterion collection
right.
of it because I only had the DVD version of it, so I went and got the full Blu-ray, and that's just on my movie cabinet now.
I found some cracked copy on archive.org because
Yeah,
but whatever wasn't on YouTube, I got from that.
right. So that would be Decalogue 5 and 6,
Yes.
likely. The one about the guy who commits the murder. And then
Yeah, the
gets...
ones that were like the full movie.
Yeah. Fair enough. Well, I mean, did you enjoy it?
Yeah.
And would you be interested in ever watching those again?
Definitely.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
I'm glad I introduced those to you, and I'm glad I introduced that to people. I'm still very proud of that episode.
Yeah.
Especially the second attempt. The first attempt, we don't need to talk about. For a second attempt, it deserved a second attempt, and I constantly think about Decalogue these days. I want to go back and rewatch it so very badly because it's definitely that piece of media that I've been looking for that has changed my perspective of storytelling and how you approach it. And every episode of that show, I mean, I did a decent enough job of telling you before going in, between episodes, in the middle of every single episode of that show, something happens that changes the course of it, and it flips it on its head in such an interesting way that is unforgettable, right? You look like you're about to laugh.
I'm looking at my notes, and I was like, after all my notes, I'm just like, Shrek jokes. Full stop.
Donkey!
And I'm like, I guess we did make a lot of Shrek jokes.
Did we make a lot of... I don't remember.
Yeah.
Somebody once told me the world is going to roll. I don't remember if we made Shrek jokes. I know that we made jokes about the cat going, oh.
Oh.
I know we did that a lot. Your memory is very focused on certain things, I can see. I mean, I liked the Star Wars episode too, especially the part where we talked about The Last Jedi. Mm-hmm. I remember the Western episode where you talked about watching that movie of just people shooting crocodiles the entire time. I liked the last episode of What to Watch Weekends that we did where you mentioned that Jurassic Park is the water of movies.
Yeah.
That cracked me up. I like how you had 1 page of notes for The Godfather. That was great.
1 page. That's too much.
Nah, it was good. I mean, most of the notes you took were very interesting talking points. So, and they were valuable to drive the conversation. So that's why I remembered them. that answers that question pretty heavily.
Yeah.
I'm glad we mentioned Decalogue again. I love Decalogue. Which brings up, I guess, the next interview question. Again, quote unquote interview. I've always wanted to ask. So we met at Film Club.
Yep.
About 2 years ago. And since then, we've become friends outside of the show. And we've hung out outside of it. I wanted to make it clear that we don't just hang out because of the show. This is like an actual friendship. I like to think it is, at least. Why on earth did you stick with the show for as long as you did?
That, I just said, it's a lot of because, well, who else can say, oh, I was part of a radio show when I was in college, right?
Right.
But also, I enjoy your personality. And it's a mix of those two things.
Well, I'd hope you enjoy my personality to talk to me for 2 hours every Saturday. Well, not every Saturday, but enough to talk at extended periods of time with me. But I mean, it's good to get that confirmation. I was honestly always wondering, like, what was it about me that kept you coming back? If it's my personality, then that's good to know. I suppose that's part of the reason we're friends, because our personalities are pretty similar. One thing we've always talked about, well, we talked about more recently, is that both of our personalities, we don't commit to running jokes on and off again. Our personality is just one big running joke that we're constantly one big bit constantly committed to, which I think is what makes it funny. And it's what, no matter how different our tastes, even in movies, are, although it's kind of similar from what I've learned today, that's for sure. No matter how different we get, we're very similar in the fact that we're just kind of silly individuals who like movies. And that shines through in the show, especially over the years, and how much it's improved over time. No matter how different the dynamic is, and no matter how often it is just me talking at you and you just responding and going, oh, yeah, I haven't seen that movie, so I
haven't seen it, so I don't know.
I can't provide any input on it. The fact that you're able to just sit there and respond in any capacity makes it all worthwhile to me, I think. And that's what kind of the strength of the show is. I know we're kind of going over time here, but there's no show after us, and this is the final episode, so forgive me while I go on for maybe like a minute or two longer. We'll play the thing right after this. I just wanted to mention that there is about 50 hours of What to Watch Weekends content up on my YouTube page, and I want you to know directly that you are in about 20 hours of that 50. Which is more than any other guest. You are, again, the official co-host of What to Watch Weekends at this point, because you're close to about half of the total hours of What to Watch Weekends stuff. And that brings up an important point. After tonight, there will be no more episodes of What to Watch Weekends here on 88.1 The Burg. If you want to go back and watch any old episodes of What to Watch Weekends, you can either go to 881theburg.com, where you will find an old archive of the show, which will go back to, let's see here, goes all the way back to January 6th of 2024, back before Walter was even a guest, when I had my old roommate Tiago on. Not because of anything having to do to Tiago, because it was the beginning of the show. I do not recommend going back that far, but if you want to watch it, I'd recommend going to What to Watch Wednesdays on YouTube, at What to Watch Wednesdays, all one word, no caps, no spaces. You can also follow along with the Wednesday show, which will be continuing next year, at What to Watch Wednesdays, all one word, no caps, no spaces, both Instagram and YouTube. If you want to see old episodes with Walter, you can go to the YouTube, or if you want to see other projects that we've collaborated on, you can check out Combustion Productions on YouTube, where there is a short film of Walter shoving a pencil up his nose on YouTube. So there's that, but there will also be another video that will hopefully be going out sometime during winter break of him hosting a radio show in an educational how-to tutorial drama film type of a thing that we filmed pretty recently. It was a lot of fun. I just need to get back to editing that. So look forward to that as well.
I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, you're going to, I think you'll get a kick out of it. Do you have anything you want to shout out before we go?
Yeah, I'd like to shout out my roommate who's caught every episode.
Really?
Yeah, basically.
Nice.
He always bugs me about, oh, when's the next episode? When are you going to be on again? And I'm like, I don't know, man.
Oh no, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing up shout outs, because I'd like to give a huge shout out to my grandma and grandpa who have been listening nearly since the show began with Tiago back in 2024. They've been listening nearly every single time. They've always commented on the two of us. They get a real kick out of our dynamic, so that's good. Nice to know that somebody's always listening out there, no matter how boring we can be, or how neurotic we can be, or how neurotic I can be with any other person I've had on. It's always nice to know somebody's listening. And I want to say a huge shout out to everybody else who's been guests on What to Watch Weekends. I could list all your names off, but we're running way over time right now. So sorry, but I'll put your names out somewhere into the ether, or you can just look through the episodes. You've been on there before, and I've mentioned Tiago, who isn't in any of the YouTube videos. So you can find them there. With all that being said, I will be back at some point in 2026 to continue the episodes of What to Watch Wednesdays, which will be from 8 to 9 p.m. on 88.1 The Burg. I will not be back for another Saturday show of What to Watch Weekends from 8 to 10 p.m. I want to thank you all for listening in. It's been a fun ride. I want to thank you most of all, Walter, for sticking along with this crazy journey.
This has been wild.
It's been wild.
Yeah.
And you can confidently say that you were the co-host of a radio show.
Yep.
You've got that. You've earned the title. You've earned it. I suppose there's nothing left to do but say goodbye. So I'll be back in 2026 telling you all what to watch. You get the final say of the final goodbye, Walter. What is your final goodbye?
Always look on the bright side of life. See ya.
Perfect.